All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the Saturday Night Live. We have 40 people. People are joining, and I know people nowadays don't have attention span. They just zip through the channels, and just like they do, I see participants go up and down. Some people come in, some people leave, some people stay forever. But I bet right now, anything you're gonna be watching on TV is gonna be less important. And I've been a student myself, right? For I don't know, God knows how many years. Like what, 20 plus years, 20. I stopped counting. I'm still a student, I guess, right? So I'm still learning every day. But I used to be like, oh God, these guys are so boring. Like the teachers, right? The professors. They go on and on and on, get to the bottom of it. But the thing is, you realize later when you get wiser, when you learn more, that actually there are a lot of details that you need to be aware to be a good doctor. You cannot just do shortcuts and kind of try to kind of zip through. That's why people make mistakes with vitamins, because people want, like, hey, just tell me what to take. Let's do this quick, get it done. Your health cannot be that easy. Come on, right? I mean, it's your health, it's your biggest investment. You work, you go to work, you exercise, you kill yourself to make a living. And just to tell yourself, oh, okay, I'll just pop some supplements and I'll be okay. Well, if you're really lucky, you may be okay, but you will probably make a lot of mistakes if you're not really studying thoroughly. That's the point, where the point of all this Sugar MD channel, right? So people, will label me or some other doctors as well, saying that, oh, they're trying to sell supplements and stuff like that. Well, we are here because we are trying to sell the quality supplements, right? So the point is, you can go buy any supplement anywhere, and then not today's lecture is nothing about selling supplements at all, but we're gonna go over a lot of supplements we don't sell at all. But I know people make mistakes all the time. So, but bear with me. I'm going to go over some fundamentals. We're going to keep it short today, maybe like 30 minutes total. And I'll take your questions. I see sometimes somebody here says lifetime learner here. Great, Vesta. That's how we all should be doing right now, right? So let's start with the fundamentals, and then I'll go over a few specifics about some serious mistakes. Sometimes I see some YouTube videos. They say, "Oh, don't take this supplement with this supplement, as if you're gonna die or you're gonna vomit your guts out." I think it's still exaggerated. Okay, but I think the problem with the vitamins and supplements are typically happens. The serious problems can happen if not understood and corrected in time. It's not like, let's say you take Ozempic or Monjaro and you didn't know, and next thing you know, you have pancreatitis, you're in the ICU. Supplements don't do that, right? So that's the good thing about supplements or vitamins. You may take a little too much of it, a little too little of it, and you may not see the results right away, but uh, you will see also, like, some reports are, this person took a supplement and had a liver failure, or this patient took a supplement and had a cardiac arrest. Well, to be honest with you, those are the things that when doctors don't know anything, they just blame supplements. Although, they rely on a few case reports, which case reports meaning that, well, I couldn't figure out what it is, so I think this is from this. I'm writing a case report. Case reports have the lowest degree of evidence in literature, just so you know. Um, However, it is true that some supplements can work like medications too. So you have to understand how strong they can be. Um, and the thing is about the supplements, all right, the other thing is, like, there's so many things out there. So you have to study yourself, listen to the doctors, the reasonable doctors who know what they're talking about, but also invest into it, right? So, A lot of people just want to go to Google for free information, but if information was that free, people didn't have to go to school, right? So, but anyway, so let's start with the number one problem mistake is supplements can replace good food. I mean, food and exercise, good food and exercise. So a lot of people will say, oh, I have this excuse for this exercise, or I hate this food, I hate vegetables or whatever, yada yada, and I'll just pop a supplement. Well, it may or may not be okay. And we'll talk about that why, because, the supplements, a lot of times, yes, they are produced from the plant. Some of them are more organic and some of them are more synthetic. And by the way, even if it is synthetic, it's not gonna be harmful. Although, your body may have harder time to absorb synthetic stuff, because normally in nature, they come with certain coenzymes or bioflavonoids and things like that your body recognizes and absorbs better. So for that reason, when you look at a supplement bottle, I mean, our supplements really don't have that kind of stuff. But let's say berberine. I mean, the berberine does not have a daily value, but if you look at the daily value, they may say 100%, 200%. Not that they are trying to over toxicate you, because it's known that your body's not going to absorb 100% of it. So sometimes, this is some doctors will say, oh, in nature you don't have 100%, 200%. Well, that's true, but if you're eating the natural food, your body will absorb the right amount and will absorb very minimal ingredients, and will absorb the maximum out of it. But with the synthetics, you have to take sometimes more. But it's never, never, never a replacement for good food. So if you're not eating vegetables every day, and let's say you couldn't eat a vegetable today, you want to get your veggies in, you can get a veggies capsule. We actually have that in sugarmds.com, a vegetable complex. But again, it's not a replacement for your daily vegetables. So the second mistake is assuming that you know what you need, and assuming that you don't need any guidance, or you don't have to ask questions. A lot of people take it upon themselves, and it is okay, right? So if you're knowledgeable enough and you learn enough about it, although it is very hard to be super knowledgeable unless you're a holistic doctor, unless you took courses like a functional medicine certification and stuff like that. It goes really in depth. And unfortunately, like for me, like, if I am bicycling or, you know, having fun activities, a lot of times I don't even know how they work. And so I know superficially, but when I have a serious problem, I'm like, I'm frozen. I don't know what can I do? It's okay to ask questions, right? So we are actually coming up with a platform that you guys will have answers, immediate answers. We are putting a ton of money, my own money into this, because I don't want my company to be just a supplement company, right? So we are different. We are different in a way that we are here to educate, not just, push supplements, just like drug companies are pushing medicines. We are not here for that. So we are working on a system where we are going to be able to be available for you 24/7 and answer your questions. So watch out for that. The other thing I wanted to announce before we forget, I'm going to send you emails, and I'm going to send you some YouTube and Facebook announcements about our the diabetes reversal program. Even if you don't want to even if you don't want to participate in a diabetes reversal program, I want you to be a thought leader and say, hey, I think this is what you should do. Or if you reverse your diabetes yourself, you can tell us how you did it. And we want to learn, right? So we're not going to come out there and say, look, we're going to tell you this and you're going to do it. And if you don't do it, you cannot reverse your diabetes. That's not how our approach is going to be. We're going to have a multidimensional approach. We're going to try to accommodate every person's lifestyle and social factors and even psychological factors. And we need to really understand what your needs are. So please be part of it. Put your email down. You're going to get some educational emails, but we're going to ask you questions as we go. Hey, what would you do what would you want in this program if you were a participant in this program? So that's gonna help us create that awesome program for you. And not just necessarily for you. Let's say you're thinking about this for your family member or something like that, but you did it yourself, you reversed it. Let us know what works or your struggles, right? Hey, I'm trying to reverse this thing. It's not happening. So what's the problem, right? So these are my problems. How can we make a program to help me personally, you, right, in this case, to reverse the diabetes? That's what we're gonna do. The other thing is, that was the point is that wait a minute, did I freeze everyone? My camera, oops. Okay, I think we are back. Right, everybody? Let me check with my team in the background here. Uh, Carlos, are we back on? Okay. Your volume is off. Let me do something for that. All right. How's the volume now? And I can yell at you guys if you want me to yell at you, but I don't want to. All right, I'm back. Sorry, today I'm getting old. I have a lot of technical difficulties with these things. I'm trying to improve my appearance with the camera, nice microphones, and all that stuff. Guess what? That'll give me trouble, guys. It is not easy. Okay, so let's see. All right, so we were just back to um, saying that you need guidance, right? So that's why rely on people who you trust, getting good information, but always take it with a grain of salt, right? Even if what I'm saying here, and I would never tell you something that will be misleading. I may be exaggerating sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, but sometimes I do exaggerate to kind of get your attention. But and you will see on the title and say, he's a clickbait. Well, sometimes I have to because otherwise people don't pay attention. But anyway, anybody on YouTube you see, even your personal doctor, any information, don't be like too skeptical, but you know, confirm that information. Not everybody is going to be on the same page, especially with the vitamins. So if you are hearing that from like 4 different places, not only YouTube, right? Not only 4 different YouTube guys. I'm talking about you're hearing on YouTube, you confirm on the other resources, and then you basically ask the right questions. That's the most important thing. So, for example, people will say, "Hey, doc, I want to take your supplements, and I just want to stop all my medications." Well, that's actually a good question. So you asked a question. The question is, can you stop all of your medications? And most of the time, the answer to that is not necessarily. But it is a time period when you start a new supplement. If you think that the results will happen, may happen within a week, it may happen within a few months. But the point is monitoring the results and being in tune with your body. It's not always going to be blood sugar changes. It may be you may feel better, you may feel more energy, you may sleep better, your bowel movements may be better. So there's a lot of things the holistic stuff can help you, but you have to be in tune. The same thing with the supplements, right? I mean, side effects. So if you take a supplement, and that happens. I mean, supplements are just like food. My mom, after she was 60, she developed mushroom allergy out of nowhere. I mean, she cannot eat mushrooms anymore. And now, should I say mushrooms are bad for you? No. Sometimes some things don't agree with you. Same thing with, let's say, you take an Ayurvedic supplement or berberine or something like that. You have allergy to metformin. You don't want to take metformin. You want to try berberine. Guess what? You maybe may not be able to tolerate berberine either, or you may be able to get Ceylon cinnamon to your system, easily. If you are having severe side effects where a point where you're almost vomiting, like you lose your sleep and stuff like that, like stuff that continues maybe in 2 days in a row. So maybe hold off, right, or reduce your dosage. Okay, I think my camera is affected here. Uh, you're probably still hearing me, but my camera again went off. So hold on a second. I'll do some magic here. All right, there we go. Well, you're stuck with my webcam. Sorry about that. I was trying to use my high quality camera, but my high quality camera does not want to agree with me here. So let's see here. Okay. So sorry, you're gonna be dealing with me with the less of a resolution. Okay, so the next one would be assuming that we talked about asking the right questions and confirming the benefits, and it may not work for you, right? So let's say you take super berberine from our website and it's too much for you. Maybe try to cut the dose in half. We are actually gonna try to bring that into two capsules, one in the morning, one in the evening again, because I think people had better tolerance to that. And when we wanted to make it down to one capsule, and people start complaining more that it was hurting their stomach, although what we were trying to do was basically trying to cut it down to one a day to make it easier. Well, we are always hearing your feedback, and we appreciate that. But the point is, if it is not working, it's not working, right? So not every supplement is for everybody, so that's okay. Um, Now, the third problem is assuming your doctor knows about supplements. Most doctors will not know about supplements. Some of them will. And I don't know everything about supplements myself either, but I'm willing to look into it and take my time and answer the question. If not immediately, maybe later. Not a lot of doctors will be willing to do that, but then it's good to go to a homeopathic doctor at least once or something to get their opinion on those things. Um, and we also talked about relying on too much on supplements, thinking that supplements can fix everything. Well, it can sometimes if you are really careful with your lifestyle changes for diabetes in this regard. Um, and vitamin D, for example, it can fix the problem. You take some vitamin D supplement, and your vitamin D will go up. You don't have to eat salmon every day if you don't want to. Um, So that's one thing, but you don't want to necessarily like just take vitamin D and just ignore all the vitamin D sources. So ask yourself this question: put all the vitamins down, right? So that's a good practice. Put all the vitamins that you know, or search on the internet all the vitamins, and see what vitamins that you are getting in your diet. Actually, ask the question. You know, what supplements? I mean, what foods contain vitamin D? And if you're not getting that food, especially for water soluble vitamins, the water soluble vitamins has to be consumed every day. The fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K vitamins doesn't have to be consumed every day. You can, because your body will store that. And I'll talk about how to take those vitamins correctly. But it's a good practice to really know what supplements you're going to need if you are not getting in your diet enough. Some supplements you will not need much. Some supplements you may actually need extra because of the disease situation, depending on what type of condition you're in. For example, for diabetes, we always tell everybody like it is very hard to get enough benfotiamine and alpha lipoic acid in your diet, just because your body needs so much of it. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. But um, and then the other thing is going for the cheapest option, right? So a lot of times my patients will tell me, "Oh, I'll just go grab from Walgreens, or I'm gonna go grab from CVS or Walmart." Uh, the problem with that is, if you are when you're in the business, you will know they are basically just there for profit, right? So they go with whoever can provide a supplement cheapest. And to make things cheap and to still be a viable company, you really need to use either cheap stuff in your products, or you have to use cheap bottling, or you have to use like bottling with BPA, God knows, right? Or you have to use you may not be paying all the money that we have been paying as Sugar MD for all the supplements for testing for heavy metals and all that stuff, adulterants, and we learned a good lesson last year. Oh my God, I mean, and then I know FDA does not regulate supplements, but they regulate when the doctor's involved. So they found a very tiny something in our supplement. We were like, wow, man, that can never happen again to us. So we are taking extreme measures now. Is we're barely floating, but our costs dramatically increased for basically doing extra testing. We were doing what we needed to do, but what FDA is testing is over the top. Like very few labs have the FDA's ability to test things. And I'm still doubtful of FDA's findings, but I mean, what can you do, right? I'm gonna take that as a lesson, as a learning tool, to make sure that that can never happen again to us, and we'll educate other companies as well. Hey, this can happen to you as well, and don't try to be cheap, don't try to undercut things, because at the end of the day, these are people that you're dealing with. The other problem is not monitoring blood sugar or blood pressure results when you're taking supplements. A lot of supplements will improve a lot of things at the same time. Your cholesterol may get better. Your uh, diabetes may get better. Blood pressure may get better. So you may be taking something for diabetes, right? And the thing is, since these are holistic, they reduce your inflammation in overall in your body. So they may improve multiple things. If your cholesterol improves, that's not going to hurt you. But if your blood pressure drops, if your blood sugar goes too low because you're on other diabetic medications, you may need to know that. And if you're not monitoring, you don't want to be like hitting a tree, driving, and realizing that the supplements you are taking were too strong, or the medications became too strong because you were taking supplements. You became more sensitive. So monitoring is very important. So you need to monitor. The other way around too, like some people will just think that, oh, supplements will do the job, and will stop taking the medications, and next thing you know, their blood sugar is 300, 400, because supplements take time, and the supplements are not as strong a lot of times like medications. So these people are on heavy medications. They're on 100 units of insulin. They are on God knows Ozempic, Jardians, everything. And next thing you know, they come to my office like, "Oh, I started taking your supplements and I stopped my medications." And I'm like, "What? Like your blood sugar is 300. You can't do that. Like who told you? Like I didn't tell you that. Like to stop. So don't assume, don't think you know stuff unless you have evidence for it. Unless you know your blood sugar is too low and you can just give a call, "Hey doc, my blood sugar is like down to 90. I don't want to go to 60. Hey, what can I do?" And doctor will tell you to adjust certain things. But yeah, do not take it upon yourself by not monitoring. Either way, it's either in a good way or a bad way, right? So you need to know how you're doing once you start a new supplement. Another mistake is you don't want to, some people get excited, and I know people sometimes want to buy everything, and I'm happy if you buy everything from my website, right? Fine, no problem. But here's the problem: you don't want to start everything together. Number one, you will not know what is giving you the benefit. So you really need to, take one thing at least for a couple of weeks before you add on something else. It is okay, if you want to buy everything together to get the discounts or whatever, and then gradually introduce it. But don't introduce everything at once. So that's a problem. Just like medications, there are much less side effects, but still, let's say you have nausea, you don't know which one caused nausea at this point, right? Listen to your body. I mean, if you're having a lot of diarrhea, cramps, fatigue, blurred vision, I mean, sometimes these things happen. Some side effects can happen if your blood sugar is also changing. So it is always a good idea to ask your doctor, is it due to directly, or you can ask our customer service as well. I mean, they sometimes pass questions to me. But you listen to your body. If something's not right, talk to somebody about it. And if you cannot find anybody to talk to, just hold off on the supplement until you are sure that you can continue it. Um, you know, like like any food or medicine, some of these supplements can also, put an extra work on your liver. So it is a good idea to monitor your liver enzymes when you go to the doctor. By the way, liver enzymes tend to go up a little bit with a lot of medications, especially statins or cholesterol medications. Half of the people I see, they have a little bit of elevated liver enzyme. And if you have fatty liver, I mean, that's going to happen as well. But if your liver enzymes are slightly elevated, not a big deal. If you're in the hundreds, AST, ALT, that is a problem. If you are less than 100, we call it less than 3 times elevated. That could be due to minor side effects from medications or even supplements. That's not a red flag, because I know my patients. It's not funny, but sometimes funny to me. They'll freak out every time they see something red on in the blood work, and when I say, "No, you're fine, you're okay, this is not a big deal," then they don't understand. They don't know what I know, so they're like, "What do you mean by it's not a big deal? It's red." So I'm like, "Well, based on what we know, it's not a big deal." So, but you gotta trust your doctor. You can ask if it is not mentioned. Let's say your creatinine jumped up from 1.2 to 1.6, and your doctor didn't say anything about it, and you can ask your doctor, "Hey, is this really important? Do we need to do something about that?" All right. So the other mistake is taking too much of stored vitamins. Now, I know there are a lot of vitamins out there, and I told you that as well. Synthetic vitamins, sometimes you need to be taking higher doses to replace. We sometimes give vitamin D 50,000 units weekly, right? Or 10,000 units daily, 20,000 units daily. And these supplements have been over the counter too. Like you can find vitamin D supplements like 10,000 units daily. However, if you're not monitoring your levels, again, being holistic is great, but you still have to monitor yourself. So if you start taking these vitamin D supplements that are like 10,000 units a day, it may not happen, but 6 months down the road, your vitamin D may be like 150. And the next thing you know, your calcium is 13. You're in the hospital. Everything in your body is hurting. It is like a vitamin D intoxication. So, I'm not the type of guy who will tell you, yeah, just take as much supplement as you want and don't monitor anything. That is not a good doctorship. So that's not cool. And I see some YouTube videos saying that you can take 10,000 every day forever. It's just not good. Since we are talking about vitamin D, let's talk about vitamin K. A lot of vitamin D and K go together, which is a good thing, and I agree with that because, if you take vitamin D alone or calcium alone, some of them has been associated with the increased risk of heart problems. And the reason for that is your vitamin D will absorb the calcium, and then you take calcium with it. Of course, if you're not taking enough calcium in your diet, which due to a lot of restrictions, some people cannot tolerate dairy, or dairy is kind of inflammatory for some people, or just outright hate dairy, and they need their calcium, and you don't want to go overboard, right? So 1,000 milligram pretty much across the board is good for a lot of people. A serving of dairy is around 300 milligrams. So if you're having 3 servings of dairy or 2 servings of dairy and one salad like greens will also have 1 serving around 300 milligram. So if you're not getting that, and if you're in the older age, like after 60 or so, and you care about your bones, yeah, you want to take calcium, but you also want to take vitamin D. If your vitamin D is deficient, again, that's something that you can check. You don't want to go blindly start taking 1,000 units of vitamin D. Uh, it's like you wouldn't take a diabetic medication if you don't have diabetes. If your vitamin D is on the lower end of normal, it's okay to start taking some vitamin D to keep it around 40, 50, 60 sometimes. Um, but vitamin K also helps the calcium that is absorbed by vitamin D to go to the bone, because the calcium in your blood is going to go somewhere. Well, if you have inflammation in your system, if you already have atherosclerosis in your arteries, then the calcium can actually get stuck in those inflammatory parts of your body. That's called calcification. There is actually a score that you can do, and you can ask this to your doctor as well, called cardiac calcium score. So not every calcification means that you're gonna die or you're gonna have succumb to that or something bad will happen. But calcium accumulation typically means that there is inflammation in one area of your body. So that circulating extra calcium will go and sit on those areas, will cause calcification, and that may trigger some events like cardiovascular events. So that's why we look at the calcium in the arteries to see if something is happening. So to prevent that calcium to end up in the arteries, you want it to go to the bone with the help of the vitamin D and K. So you're taking all three, again, not excessively, monitoring your levels, and you will actually sometimes know if you're taking something excessive like calcium. We're going to talk about what kind of calcium to take and how much is too much, and how do you know it's too much. Um, but yeah, so calcium has to go to bone. Otherwise, we know that there are some studies showing that too much calcium actually increased the risk of arterial disease, heart attacks, and so forth. Definitely not a good outcome. So again, supplements are great if you are not getting in your diet enough, especially vitamin world. I'm talking about the vitamin world because that's easily can be overdone. Um, so the other thing is, we talked about the fat stored vitamins like the D, E, K. We talked about the D and K together. A is also A is a lot in a lot of vegetables, by the way. Um, but you also want to take the fat soluble vitamins with fat containing food. So with your food, so your body is in the mode of absorbing, and you need some gallbladder juice for fat soluble vitamins to be absorbed. So as a result, you don't want to just take all of your vitamins with glass of water and don't eat anything the rest of the day. A lot of people do that, right? So a lot of people don't eat anything. Either they fast, which is fine for fasting people. And I don't recommend fasting all day, by the way. I recommend fasting in the evening, not in the morning. But regardless, it is a good habit to take most of your supplements in the morning, unless you have side effects. But it is always good to have a good high fat breakfast with the supplements, especially the fat soluble vitamins, to be absorbed. Otherwise, especially, since a lot of these vitamins are synthetic, no matter what they can claim nature made, whatever they call them their names. But at the end of the day, most of them are extracts of some sort of they go through some sort of purification, and it's not the same as the vitamin D that comes from the sun or vitamin D that comes in the fat. When it comes to type of the vitamin D, guys, D3 is your best bet, because for D2 is not the active form. You still need the sunshine to produce D3 from D2. So if you are living in a cave, you don't go outside, and your vitamin D is low, but you don't want to take vitamin D2, you want to take D3, so that's readily available for your body to use and store. Um, Another problem is we talked about taking too much vitamin, but for diabetics specifically, this does not apply to non-diabetics. Benfotiamine and alpha lipoic acid. So these alpha lipoic acid, especially, is an antioxidant, right? You have to have a balance in your body. You actually need a little bit of an oxidation in your body to be able to fight with bacteria, virus, even cancer, because your body kills those things with for example, hydrogen peroxide. Your body produces that to attack viruses, bacteria, whatever. But when you're a diabetic, you produce so much of these oxidative products, the end products, that then they basically, it's like those some retired police officers or crazy soldiers. They get bored, or they were in Iraq and they got traumatized, and next thing you know, they take the gun and they start shooting people around. These are oxidative people. They need to be eliminated, or neutralized, if at best. So same thing with your body. When you're producing a lot of oxidation, you have to neutralize that. And with diabetes, you're producing so much of it. Not taking alpha lipoic acid is basically just asking for trouble, because yes, your blood sugar is high. You may not feel it. You may not feel the complications of diabetes right away, but it will happen. It's just a matter of time. The best way to protect yourself is alpha lipoic acid. We talked about the benfotiamine before, how important that is. Um, the benfotiamine is, for example, synthetic. Again, sometimes you have to use synthetic things to actually make things absorb better. For example, in benfotiamine situation, and we prefer natural, right? We prefer the stuff that is in food. Thiamine is that comes into food. But unfortunately, again, thiamine is not well absorbed because it's not fat soluble. Benfotiamine is converted to a fat soluble form. So your body actually takes it in and then breaks it into thiamine again. So it's basically just like a little passport to go through, and then it goes back to a thiamine state in your body. And then remember, we talked about what the thiamine does for you. It is basically a cofactor in one of the most important steps in the glucose oxidation process. If you have too much glucose, right, and you have to process that glucose, and you cannot process that glucose, it branches to different type of pathways, and those pathways is like hexazomin pathway, polyol pathway, sorbitol pathway. If you are in tune, like if you're really academical, go ahead and research these things, and you will realize how thiamine becomes the extra force, extra fuel for the glucose to be properly executed, to be properly burned. Otherwise, it goes to other pathways, which creates this end products or AGEs, advanced glycation end products, and so forth, which is extremely harmful for your body. So next mistake. Well, this is a simple one. Some people know, some people don't know about this. Is taking too much vitamin C when you're on CGM. So normally vitamin C is water soluble. I mean, it's hard to get intoxicated from vitamin C in reality. Although if you're taking vitamin C for a cold or something, I don't think you have to eat 3 oranges and 5 mandarins and whatever. Uh, you can, I guess, definitely cause some stomach issues, because at the end of the day, it's an acidic vitamin. But the vitamin C over 500 milligram, no matter where you get it from, it can interfere with the Libre and Dexcom readings. So it's just a problem with them. So far, it is still a problem. So that's something that you have to pay attention. A lot of people complain that their CGMs is not accurate, Libre is not accurate, Dexcom is not accurate. Well, number one is not understanding how they work. And I try to explain this one by one to everyone. I wish they were watching my videos more often. But basically, these systems are not even checking your blood sugar. Just quickly, right? I'm going to go over that. These things are not measuring your blood sugar. They're measuring your tissue fluid. Okay. So you know how it takes when you come from a highway to go to your house. Sometimes it takes 15, 20 minutes, right? Same thing for glucose. If your glucose is 120, for that 120 glucose to reach to your shoulder, wherever you're keeping your Dexcom or Libre, it may take 20 minutes. The same thing, if it is low, for it to reflect, it may take longer time. If it is high, it may take longer time. And especially when it's rapidly shifting, it is going to show totally different numbers between your finger stick and the tissue fluid. However, understand this: yes, blood sugar is important, but tissue fluid is also an indicator of where you're going. So if your blood sugar is dropping from 200 down to 100 rapidly, CGM is telling you that your blood sugar is dropping. So, not blood sugar, your tissue is dropping. If your tissue is dropping, it means that, your arterial blood should be also dropping as well. It's like traffic, right? So if you see a traffic in your neighborhood, you were like, oh, damn, it's not going to be good in the highway. You know that. So the same mentality, right? It is less invasive method of measuring it, but it is what it is. It is, you have to understand how they work. But vitamin C, like I said, makes things a little more difficult. Now I'm going to come to some specifics about super like common vitamins that a lot of people take, and a lot of people have no idea about this one, and that is fish oil. So a lot of people take fish oil, right? Well, great, because they don't like fish. I wish they did, but they don't. And they think I'll just take fish oil. Well, okay. Again, go back to our initial discussion of, okay, do you really need fish oil? And what kind of fish oil do you need? What is in fish oil that's going to benefit you? And what type of fish oils are there? And how the fish oil is made? These are the questions you need to be asking yourself, because you heard a video on YouTube saying that, oh yeah, omega-3 is great for you. It's in the fish oil. Go get some. And you run to the store and you just look at the shelf and see one of the brands that you see on TV or whatever, and just grab omega-3 because it says omega-3, natural omega-3 on it. A lot of times people bring their supplements to me and I look at them because I'm curious. I want to know what they're taking. And they show me the fish oil. Now, number one thing they don't realize, that for a fish oil to be beneficial for you, you have to have 3 grams of EPA and DHA. So first of all, if your fish oil does not have EPA and DHA, it's trash. So the fish oil overall does not always do something for you. The only thing your body really needs is EPA and DHA. So a lot of times they'll say 3,000 milligram of fish oil, right? But in reality, the EPA and DHA could be like a couple hundred milligrams, like 200 milligrams. So you're basically swallowing oil that does nothing for you and possibly harmful. And how it is possibly harmful? Think about this. Fish oil comes from the fish, right? So I'm a businessman and I want to sell a lot of fish oil. I want to make it cheap so I can put it into shelves on Walgreens, CVS, Walmart. I can give it to them for $5. They can sell it for $20. That's how it works. Unfortunately, in reality, these big box stores are killing businessmen, but that's the reality. So the guy says, okay, well, the bottling is going to cost me $3, and my staff and all that. I have $1 to make this fish oil. Where am I going to get this $1 fish oil? Well, I'm going to go to fish oil suppliers, the cheap ones, and the cheap ones will go get the fish oil from the big fish, because big fish means big oil. Now, big fish also means big heavy metals, big mercury, right? So just like human beings, just like us, animals accumulate toxins, right, in nature. That's the source of our problems too, right? We develop disease, we suffer through it, we live longer, so we suffer longer. At least, they have a shorter lifespan most of the time, and They die quietly and they don't complain, and they're they're okay. But when we are consuming them, their mercury levels, all the heavy metals that they accumulate from the big fish that came to your bottle as a supplement, now you are eating that cheap fish oil that has very little EPA and DHA, possibly, if you didn't pay attention, because you have to look at the label how much EPA and DHA they have. And more than likely, you are getting a lot of mercury and all that stuff because, again, those are not required to test, and a lot of companies will not pay. It is crazy how consumers don't understand. You know, we pay tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes over $50,000 yearly for one supplement to go through vigorous testing. Well, testing companies make a lot of money, good for them. But for things to be thoroughly tested and to be very inexpensive, it is just basically dreaming. And good luck with that. Let's see. And if you don't want to spend money on supplements, guess what? Spend money on groceries. Get your vitamins from vegetables and start liking vegetables, start liking fish. Don't buy the supplements. Now, except I told you a few supplements you may need extra, like amphetamine, alpha lipoic acid. Sometimes, if your blood sugar is still high, although you're in a good diet, you need a blood sugar supplement. That's fine. You can always try those. Um, but I see sometimes a list of supplements. Some people go so nuts. I see like 20, 30 different supplements in there. I'm like, do you eat any food? Like, if you eat food, these are in the food most of the time. And if somebody is eating salmon twice a week and going out for a sun for a couple time walks, like 15 minutes or something, couple times a week, you are not going to be vitamin D deficient. So just sometimes even look for vitamin D fortified stuff in the grocery. So, um, yeah, some people think that they can fix every problem with supplements, and I guess that's okay to think so. I'm not saying it cannot, but it is an overstatement, to say the least. It's like thinking like the next president of the United States will fix all the problems. Okay, good luck with that. Um, so, uh, another thing with the vitamins specifically, vitamin D actually sometimes, again, back to vitamin D, because that's one of the most commonly used one. Um, it is better to take early in the day. There's some data that it can suppress your um, nighttime, your melatonin. The other thing is when you're taking a lot of vitamin D, it can actually diminish your magnesium stores. So you need to take magnesium. And again, I know you're going to be like, what the hell, doc? You keep talking about you're so expensive. But magnesium glycinate is the better form. It helps you sleep. It is much better absorbed. That's why you need much less. And you're not going to have stomach problems with the magnesium glycinate. That's why, we use magnesium glycinate in our sugar MD diavitamin, for example. But magnesium citrate is the cheapest one you can get from this big guys, the Nature's Made or Nature something. They always have fancy names and they're all over the place. Those guys are typically using that kind of low quality magnesium. The other thing we're going to talk about, the calcium supplements, the different types. Now, the most common type is calcium carbonate, like Tums, right? I know some people say, oh, that's the cheapest form, but sometimes cheap is not always really bad for you unless you know that sometimes things are cheap because it's abundant. I mean, calcium carbonate is so abundant, you cannot make it any expensive. You don't have to test calcium carbonate for adulterants and heavy metals and all that stuff. So, I mean, it is so found in nature so much, so it is cheap. And if you have some stomach acid problems, um, you can basically take it with your meals just to calm things down. Especially nowadays, people taking Ozempic, Mounjaro. It is an epidemic that everybody has reflux disease, knowingly or unknowingly. A lot of people come and say, doctor, my voice is gone, or I'm keep coughing. What's going on? And these are actually reflux symptoms that are hidden, like we call them silent or negative symptoms of reflux. It's not a heartburn necessarily. Heartburn is what takes people to the doctor or whatever. But those chronic coughs or total voice changes, being hoarse, could be from reflux, or your asthma may be getting worse from coughing too much or whatnot from these drugs that basically slows down your system. And I think calcium carbonate is something that if you really love those drugs and you want to keep them, that may be an option for you to reduce your stomach acidity. Although remember, when you reduce your stomach acidity, a lot of things will have trouble at getting absorbed. One of the things we'll have a problem is Synthroid, which is the thyroid medication, which a lot of my patients are taking. And sometimes their levels fluctuate. And I'm like, hey, did you start taking calcium supplements or something, or iron supplements? They're like, yeah, I just started, or my doctor says so, or whatever. And next thing you know, their thyroid is all over the place. So anything that changes your stomach acidity, especially in this case, calcium carbonate, can be a problem. If you don't want that and you still want the calcium, you should be going for calcium citrate. Okay. And always look at the elemental calcium on the when you're buying calciums. How much elemental calcium is the real calcium that your body can absorb. Okay. And calcium straight is a lot easier to absorb, and it doesn't require stomach acidity. It doesn't require to be taken after food. You can take it at any time. And how do you know that you're taking too much calcium? Well, you're gonna get constipated. So how do you know you're taking too much iron? You're gonna get constipated. So the iron and calcium are really constipating agents. Magnesium, if you take too much of it, the opposite may happen. So you may start developing some diarrhea. So those are the things that to know to prevent mistakes. And another thing that's very popular is probiotics. So probiotics, people buy probiotics again, you don't know what you don't know. It says probiotics, a big brand, and you just trust it. You know, they have a good lobby. They can get into big box stores, and they can do whatever they want with it. And but you need to have in your diet at least 15 to 20 billion of these good guys, the probiotics, the bacteria. If you're eating yogurt, right, and you may be hating yogurt, I'm not judging, but I love yogurt. I almost eat it every day. Um, if you are eating yogurt, you don't need to take probiotics. Okay. More than likely, you will not even need calcium because you will have calcium in your food and you're eating yogurt at least once a day. But if you're taking a probiotic supplement, you have to look at the how much of the probiotics they have. Typically, sometimes they will sell milligrams. Sometimes they'll say in billions, but typically 5 milligram is around 5 billion. So if they say like 15 milligram, that is like 15 billion. Or if it says 50 milligram, that could be 100 of that. Like a 100 billion. So with the probiotics, actually, there is really not a limit with the good bacteria. Because what ends up happening with probiotics that people don't also realize that those guys are bacteria, right? So your stomach acidity is very strong. So that's why a lot of food you eat has bacteria on it, and you don't necessarily, get sick from it because your stomach acidity kills it, and your intestinal fluids and all that, it kills those bacteria before they reach to your intestine, or like distal intestine, or the colon. Sometimes they do. If it is heavily contaminated meat with E. coli, and E. coli is a resistant bacteria, they can go through anything. Or that's why you're pooping E. coli, right? So there's E. coli in your poop. So that's why you don't want to have E. coli in your food. But probiotics basically get killed on the way. So you really need, it's like sperms. Like you have like this billion sperms and only one makes it. Well, probiotics is not that bad, but if you're having like 5 billion in a supplement, that's not going to do anything. So probiotics, the gut health is extremely important. And that you really, if you have a healthy gut, a lot of things will start improving. So pay attention to your probiotics, especially. Some people ask, why do you have probiotics in your kidney support? Well, because we know your kidneys are the cleaning organ, right? And what are they cleaning? the stuff, the junk that your body produces, and the stuff that comes from outside through the leaky guts. So we are giving you probiotics in that supplement, in the kidney support, for example, to make sure, along with the other vitamins, and benfotiamine, alpha lipoic acid is in there too, because, like I said, these are like indispensable vitamins, or compounds that, if you fix your gut lining, then things are not going to leak through to your system that can potentially be toxic to your kidneys. So as a result, we decided to put that in there as well. So that is the end of my presentation. I said 30 minutes, but I talked too much, so it's already been an hour. I'm going to take some questions here. I'm not going to take everything because some of them are not related to. And I want you to get used to this, where, if you're asking a question that is not related to the topic, then we are not going to answer it. I'm going through here. Let's see. Towards the middle, I can hear you. Volume good, all good. Okay. By the way, you can still enter your questions here while I am reading the top ones. Well, some questions I'm tempted to answer, but I don't want to because it is totally off topic and it's disrespectful to people who are here for this topic. So this is a related question. Carolyn says, does metformin deplete vitamin B12? Yes, Carolyn. And I have talked about that a few times in our YouTube channel. And as you know, if you have a question about anything, all you have to do, like in this case, does metformin deplete vitamin B12, sugar MD? You're going to find a video about metformin. It may not say B12 on the title, but somewhere in there, we'll be talking about that in that video. If not, on the next video, maybe. But that's a common question. Yes, that's why B12 is another vitamin that I want every metformin taker take it. So, I mean, that's why we actually brought the B12, because again, a lot of people, really needed that. But it is important. Yes. Let's see. The B vitamins, I don't even check B vitamins, like especially water soluble vitamins. Why? Because, first of all, a lot of water soluble vitamins are in your cells. So what is in your blood? You have to be like extremely deficient for the vitamin levels, the normal vitamin levels, to go down in the blood or reference range. So, and then your levels may be different tomorrow because it's not as necessarily stored. Or vitamin B, for example, B12, it can go high, but then you just basically give a break and it comes right back down. And again, with this, for example, I know people are also asking how much vitamin B12 to take. Our vitamin B12 has 5,000. Doesn't mean that you have to take 5,000 every day. If you take it like just one drop, couple drops once a week, that may be just all you need. Although these are water soluble and they're not stored, but they can still stay in your system for up to a week or two. Does it recommend? No, that's not a pertinent question. Okay, so somebody said I only eat keto, low carb, try to hard. Okay, so that's not necessarily. I brought this question up because I think it is somewhat related. Because when you're on a keto diet, it's a great industry, right? So they want you to avoid all the healthy foods and just eat meat, or carnivore diet in that regard. And they have their merits, right? So when you quit everything else and just eat high fat or just meat, whatever, right? They are promoting. Well, the thing, I think the way they work is basically you're eliminating so much junk and inflammatory foods from your diet. It's not that the meat is helping you, or necessarily the fat is helping you, just eliminating the bad stuff from your diet because it's part of the diet, right? So you eliminate. But since you're also eliminating the good stuff, then you're basically stuck on the supplements. So they cannot tell you, oh, go eat an apple, get your vitamins, because that's prohibited. It's like basically getting kicked out of a neighborhood because you have a couple of bad neighbors and you don't like it, and then next thing you know, you have to lose your good friends too, because you have to move somewhere else. So I don't like extreme diets for that reason. I think mindfulness is the most important thing. People who are not mindful, like, and I don't want to call these people extreme, but some people just don't understand the options. We are given options. We are human beings. We have a brain that we can choose, right? Yes, we have addictions. We have all these problems. And sometimes some people who cannot make their mind, who cannot make decisions, sometimes some type of people are good for certain diets, right? But those diets definitely have problems with their micronutrients, the extreme diets. Um, so that's part of it. So you may need to take more off the vitamins that you may not be getting in your daily diet. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. So somebody said that berberine does way more than just, yeah. So like to the point where we discussed about this, and berberine. If you ask your doctors, berberine, they'll probably say, "What is that?" They never heard of it probably. And to be honest with you, I was trained the same way. So, but one thing that I am, proud of myself is that I listen to my patients. Right? I don't think I am. I don't make them feel like I'm superior or I know everything and they don't know nothing. Some doctors make people feel like that, and I understand why. Right? So they know a lot. Okay, so that's great, but not everything. Right? So I listen to them and hey, like, what are you doing? What's happening? Are you trying something else? And if they say I'm using this, it's helping me and whatnot, I constantly study what people are saying. Go back home, and like I said, I went to school for over 20 years, but I'm still a student. I keep reading and watching things all the time. But definitely to her point, for Douglas, holistic stuff does a lot of good things. So some people say, I'm just gonna take berberine for blood sugar. Well, it's not just the blood sugar, okay? So that's why we call them holistic. So berberine may not help your blood sugar as much, but it may help your cholesterol. It may help your gut healing. It may help so many other things. So that's why you need to be open-minded and understand what you're taking and what the capabilities of these supplements. And of course, when it comes, we talked about how much to take and whatnot. One of the things that I forgot to mention, we said synthetic vitamins. Everybody is going against it. It's a trend, but sometimes, like benfetiamine, if you don't have a synthetic one, it's very hard to go through your body. And if you're not getting enough in your diet, what you're gonna do? And so it's not harmful. It's just harder to absorb. That's all. But with the super berberine, the our super berberine, the sugar MD, the reason it became so popular is because basically we found this company that is super high tech, and they convert things to become more bioavailable. They don't do benfetiamine. That's everybody does that, but they convert the berberine to dehydroberberine, supernatural form of berberine to dehydroberberine, and it's a lot easier to get absorbed and less likely to cause side effects. So yes, some people still have side effects. I'm not saying it is side effect free, but it's less likely. So it is something to keep in mind. Let's see. What's the best time to take berberine, in the morning or the evening? Actually, the best time to take of any supplement, I think, is the morning time. However, the only time that I tell people to take in the evening, let's say you're sensitive and your stomach is sensitive in the mornings. Some people are. Some people are more nauseous in the morning and whatnot. Um, then maybe take it in the evening before you go to bed. If this thing is causing diarrhea or loose stools, it's less likely. Same thing, like for example, even metformin. When we start people on metformin, if they want to go on metformin, we tell them always start with your dinner. Stay on that for a week with a small dose. that's one of the best times to take supplements that causes side effects, or the medications that can cause side effects. Victoza used to be an old medicine, for example. Our experience with that drug is the same thing. Normally it's supposed to be taken in the morning, but some people are sensitive. They get more nausea when they take the Victoza in the morning. So we were telling them, hey, just take it in the evening. Next thing you know, they have no problem. So if you're having a little bit of a side effect to supplements, it is okay to take in the evening, or late in the evening, or before you go to bed, or what something. But it's always good to have something in your stomach. So the dinner time is probably the latest time you should be taking supplements. But some people have such stomachs that they can take anything. If your stomach is good, and you don't mind taking it before bedtime, I have patients doing that, and it's sometimes individualized like that. Let's see. Okay. 80% of Americans don't get enough magnesium. That is true, because we, again, do not eat enough vegetables. All right. So somebody's asking, I was taking advanced glucose support, to switch glucose support, I'm taking super berberine. How much? For pre-diabetic, most are supplements. Again, they can be taken as a pre-diabetic. By the way, pre-diabetic and diabetes is an arbitrary definition, right? So, you know, they said, okay, let's call the 6.5 diabetes, and anything less than that pre-diabetes. So who came up with that, right? And we know that people get neuropathy at a pre-diabetic stage sometimes, or even worse, people get heart attacks at the pre-diabetic stage. So how do you explain that? Well, they don't want to increase the number of people called diabetic, because then Medicare will have to cover a lot more drugs for a lot more people. Um, and guess what? They don't want to cover supplements. They don't want to cover holistic care. They don't want to cover nutrition care. So all this time that I've been trying to have a dietitian on board, and they are gonna pay pennies, like literally pennies, where you can hardly pay your dietitian, because they don't care. They don't want to pay for medications. Well, then pay for the holistic care, pay for nutrition, pay for time spent with the patient. Nope, you're gonna pay brain surgery $500,000 after they get a brain cancer from the freaking food they eat, right? Isn't that so bizarre? I mean, the same thing. We're gonna pay cardiothoracic surgery to hospitals. We're gonna pay them $200,000 for a cardiac bypass surgery, and yet we are not gonna pay $25, $30, $40, or something for a supplement that the doctor may think may be helpful, or the patient knows is helpful, right? So it is. I mean, I understand their concern. It's an unregulated industry. They don't want to start paying all these things, and then people go about empty all the shelves, and it's not prescribed by the doctors. Maybe what we need in the U.S. is vitamins prescribed by doctors. Doctors need education for those, nutrition education and vitamin education, and educate patients what kind of food they can eat to take those vitamins in. And if they are not getting it, then maybe supplement them with the vitamins that are necessary. When to take magnesium glycinate? So magnesium glycinate actually causes sedation. So as a result, it's best to take in the evening. However, if you're not an evening person, you end up hitting the hay in 8 o'clock in the evening. Maybe it's better for you to take in the morning. But again, those are the things that can make a difference. Definitely, most vitamins are better if taken with food as well. Why your iron goes low when you have diabetes or thyroid problems? So, I'm not aware of, Yanni, for iron going low when you have diabetes or thyroid problems, but a lot of times iron problems is things that can be from many different things. And people think that iron deficiency is from not eating enough iron. That is extremely rare to have iron deficiency unless you're a complete vegetarian. Okay. Diabetes does not cause any iron deficiency. Thyroid does not cause any iron deficiency. But typically, iron deficiency happens from actually losing blood, very small amounts, especially after age 60. People start getting intestinal bleeding, small, tiny vessels start, bleeding. Sometimes doctors can find it, sometimes they cannot. And then next thing you know, you're iron deficient. Sometimes, if they can fix the problem, let's say you have a stomach ulcer bleeding, they fix the problem, right? And then a little bit of iron, you're good. But if you have a tiny bleeding in the small intestine somewhere, they can't find it, like a little leak, then they just tell you just take some iron. And to me, if I was iron deficient, I would probably never take iron orally. The reason is so constipating, and I hate to have gut problems. What I would do, just give me the IV. If I'm iron deficient, just give me the IV. It'll load me up because iron is stored. So I'm good. But the also in the older age group, the bone marrow problems tend to happen. We recently diagnosed. I didn't diagnose, but I suspected, and I sent the patient to a hematologist, and she was so grateful because they diagnosed an early leukemia, and she's cured now. So, assuming that these deficiencies, especially when it comes to iron, that you just pop some iron pills and you're okay, could be a dangerous proposition. So, something to, don't take things too lightly. I mean, yes, medicine, I mean, the foods and vitamins can help a lot. But sometimes, again, like the first thing that I said, one of the biggest mistakes is that patients, customers, people take on themselves on how to treat themselves. Um, I think it's always to get a doctor's opinion. If the doctors are perplexed, they don't know what's going on, and they're not really helping you much, or at least they tell you, hey, you're iron deficient, you need to take iron, then you may say, okay, I'll try maybe some, over the counter iron or whatever instead of high dose, because sometimes doctors give you very high dose oral pills with the iron, which is super constipating. But if you take, actually, interestingly, this one, it is better to take low dose with the iron and take it every other day so you don't get constipated. So, some doctors will know that and some don't. But I mean, it's okay to share something that you learned with your doctor, and then they can do the fact check for you, by the way. I mean, right? So they have the tools that, just like lawyers, right? You go to a lawyer. Okay, well, okay, I'm $800 an hour, and you just asked me a question, and I have to spend 3 hours on this to give you an answer, and that's going to cost you 3 grand. I'm like, wait a minute, aren't you a lawyer? You should know this, right? Like, yeah, but it's going to take me some time to research. Okay, well, I'm glad. I mean, doctors are more practical than attorneys, but there's nowhere in the world that any doctor will know everything. So, or they will know, but they will not want to give you an incomplete answer. That's why lawyers are sticklers. They don't want to give any incorrect answer. They go back study, even if they know it, they don't want to say you something outright. Um, Same thing with doctors. Share the information, see what they think. If they don't know, can you say, "Hey, doctor, can you please look it up for me and maybe let me know later?" Text message or a phone call or something like that. That will be nice. If they have time, they can return to you. I think that's probably one of the best way to approach your doctors. So your doctor is your partner, not something that you basically argue with or compete with. Um, do you have a complete glycemic index available? That's not a vitamin question. I clicked on it. I don't know why. It is everywhere. I mean, you just ask Google, hey, Google, what is the glycemic index of a small apple or, a watermelon or whatever? So use the Google for these practical things. I use the Google for that mostly. I don't use Google for like serious information. But I think we took most questions today. And the other questions that I couldn't take, I will answer in separate videos. Um, Somebody said, "What about our alpha lipoic acid?" I mean, our alpha lipoic acid. I mean, that's a big also. Everybody talks about this and have strong opinions. Alpha lipoic acid. Yes, it comes in. It is. By the way, it is synthetic, right? So, but it comes in different forms, molecular forms. RALA is definitely a lot better that your body uses. Regular ALA has 50% RALA. That's why it is cheaper. Again, back to the topic. You want to buy something cheap, you are getting what you're paying for. So alpha lipoic acid for that reason is cheaper. Is it not beneficial? It is beneficial. But if you're getting 600 milligram of alpha lipoic acid, you're probably getting 300 milligram of RALA, which can still help. But if you're buying RALA, if you're getting 600 RALA, then you're getting 600 RALA. So that's simple as that. But the price difference sometimes can be up to twice. And on our website, we have both. Um, you know, they're both tested and they are safe and secure. But like I said, it's a preference and the budget thing. So as a result, and then sometimes, some people take multiple vitamins of us. Like, let's say some people take neuropathy support and the kidney support. Pay attention to what you're taking. So I don't really want to, say, hey, yeah, just buy all the supplements we sell. That's not right. Neuropathy support has alpha lipoic acid. Kidney support has alpha lipoic acid. If you're getting 600 to 1200 milligram of alpha lipoic acid, you don't have to add more. Really, the study says the 600 to 1200 milligram of alpha lipoic acid is pretty much the sweet spot for alpha lipoic acid. So those are the questions that you should be asking. Hey, I have alpha lipoic acid here, alpha lipoic acid here. Do I need more? Right? Well, if you ask me in my clinic, for example, I'll say, no, you're getting enough of it. A lot of times people will bring like 5 different supplements that they bought from our website. They're gonna like, what else do I need? I'm like, nothing else. You don't even need this, for example. Just because we are selling supplements doesn't mean that you have to buy it all. But there are certain things like we always emphasize. Like we have, for example, what do we have? Thyroid and adrenal support, right? You need a thyroid and adrenal support. Maybe you do. That's why we have a quiz. So take the quiz. A lot of times those quizzes designed, like on our website, we have a quiz for you to say, hey, take the quiz and answer certain questions. It's going to recommend a few products. It's not going to recommend you 30 products because it's asking you the right questions for you to understand what you need. But at the end of the day, it's a quiz. It's not God's word. It's still your judgment, and working with your doctor is going to be the best. It's going to give you the best outcome. So, but thank you for joining today, and I hope this helped you. And if you have more questions, why don't you keep typing? This video will remain as a recording of the live session. So type all of your questions. Maybe what I will do is I will make a separate video answering all of those questions one by one in like maybe 1 to 2 minutes each. That way, we everybody is answered. But due to time limitation, we may not be able to do that. We already overwent like what 300% of our time. My wife is not going to be happy, but she's probably already sleeping. So in the morning, I'll hear something. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on YouTube and on our website. Talk to you later.